Come on, I've been singing.
Is it Steve Martin's MO to just be in movies where like it's music and like a musical title? Because All of Me, Pennies from Heaven.
Well, he's a big music. I mean,
The Jerk.
He started playing banjo.
Yeah.
Like he was starting, like he was accordion guy, comet guy on the street. Like
he's toured here playing bluegrass, like music, and I was like, okay.
That's what the last 5 albums of his have been, and he just co-wrote a musical fairly recently that just was on Broadway, Bright Star, with Edie Brickell.
Oh, okay. It's weird to me because again, as someone who is in their 30s, when I think of Steve Martin, and this is going to be terrible because I didn't grow up with and I didn't see the Steve Martin SNL stuff. I saw it after the fact. I've seen the Wild and Crazy Guys thing with Dan Aykroyd. I have seen the King Tut thing as an adult, but that's for me when I think of Steve Martin, and this is going to be terrible and it's going to date me and it's going to make me seem like a complete Luddite.
Go for it.
I think of the Pink Panther.
Yes.
Right?
And like that's going to date me by saying, as do my kids.
That's what I think of. And I don't know if it's also going to be terrible. I've never seen the original Pink Panther. So I don't know if the new one's funny, but the new one's funny for what it is. I don't know how it compares to the original. I'm sure it is a poor, if not awful facsimile of the original.
So here's the thing. They both are very representative of their time.
Sure.
And for their time, I think they were very successful in the comedy. Like Steve Martin is genuinely funny in the Pink Panther movies. I mean,
I would like to buy a hamburger. Like that shit's like it could not be funny, but Steve Martin makes it funny. You know, like I don't know. I haven't even seen the second one. The first one's funny. I don't know. The second one's probably bad, but
I don't remember the second one as well. Although my kids watched both, but the original films also very funny for the time. I haven't revisited them, but what we also grew up with was the Pink Panther cartoon. Do you remember the Pink Panther cartoons?
Is that where the Pink Panther is the character?
Where the Pink Panther is the character, and there was like a Pink Panther cartoon. I'm sure, and I'm saying that, and now I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. But I think I'm not.
Like the character?
No, there was an animated series that ran from 1969 to 1980.
Holy cow. Okay. 17 years of Pink Panther cartoons.
Yeah.
But that's what I know Steve Martin from. And like his various other comedic roles as like a dad in stuff. Like, again, this is going to be terrible. Cheaper by the Dozen was another movie that came out when I was probably a teenager.
Sure, but huge. Cheaper by the Dozen 1 and 2.
I think
Steve Martin do.
It's Complicated as well is another interesting movie. That's the Meryl Streep, Alec Baldwin movie where he plays like I forget what the deal is with that movie, but it's like him and Alec Baldwin and Meryl Streep and like a love triangle.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a movie from 1984. And if you're listening to this episode of the Kulturecast, I bet you're not wondering who I am. I am still your host, Chris Stachiw, but I am joined once again by my good friend. She has a show on the Weirding Way Media Network that is extremely successful. And if you haven't listened to it, you should. She is one of the hosts of 80s TV Ladies, your friend and mine, Susan Lambert Hatem.
Hi, thanks for having me, Chris. I'm so happy to be here. Here I get to talk about movies, which is also really fun.
As opposed to talking about television and only television?
Yes.
With women
I love
in it?
talking about television. Yes. And this,
it's a broader medium, isn't it? I think television's a broader medium than film in a lot of ways.
Oh, well, I mean, because it covers, but they're so interesting now because they used to be very separate. They used to feel very separate. And now movie people are doing series and series people are doing movies. And it was such a huge, huge deal when, Bruce Willis did Die Hard. Like that seemed impossible that he would be a movie star, even though he was a huge TV star.
Right.
But it seemed impossible. It seemed like a joke.
Well, I mean, we're living now in the post-streaming era where people like Julia Roberts have been in streaming shows. At this point, I think we're farther along than we ever have been with the kind of the line being very blurred, obviously, like you said, between the two. But that's not the case in 1984 when this movie came out. This movie being a little film, if you've never heard of it, directed by Carl Reiner, called All of Me.
Roger Cobb was a rising young lawyer whose first big case...
Guess what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to come back from the dead.
Oh.
...was a basket case.
What am I missing here?
You see, thanks to His Holiness Bragalaza, my soul is going to leave my body forever and become one with the universe.
At which time my soul will enter her body.
Ah, good plan.
They put her soul in a bowl. But things got out of control.
I lost her.
What's that?
And it worked. Oh, my Lord! I can't believe this. I can't even die right.
Somebody please tell me this is not happening.
We obviously have mutual control over our body.
Our body? It's my body! I'm not sharing my body with anyone! Everybody's gonna be real disappointed.
Now, Edwina Cutwater is dead and living in Roger Cobb's body.
You know, you have a great deal to learn about making someone feel welcome.
Let's get something straight here. I never liked you when you were in your body. I certainly don't like you in mine.
She's spoiling his love life.
Edwina!
My name is Peggy, you pig!
No, let me explain. It's Edwina Cutwater. She died today.
You did it with a dead woman?
He's ruining her afterlife.
I can't go in there. That's the men's room. Just shut up and do as I say.
She's getting under his skin.
Don't I excite you?
Edwina, go away, will you? I own that body. What if you got it pregnant? You have no right. No, you have no right. It's 2 o'clock. I want you out of me by 3:15. Now, where's the Swami?
Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin in All of Me.
So like I mentioned, the film is directed by Carl Reiner, based on a screenplay by Phil Alden Robinson, and it stars the aforementioned Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin, who was in another movie that Susan and I talked about recently. Steve Martin plays an attorney who is also a jazz guitarist who also has a dog that follows him around. And he becomes the attorney of a bedridden eccentric millionaire played by Lily Tomlin, who drops dead. And in the process of dropping dead, her spirit gets conferred into Steve Martin's body, which was not the intention. She was going to be conferred into the body of Victoria Tennant, who plays Terry Hoskins. And what ends up happening, or excuse me, no, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right on.
I'm just making sure. I got the characters confused, the two female characters in the movie. And throughout the film, Steve Martin attempts to get Lily Tomlin's soul, spirit, what have you, into the right body and out of his body, because guess what? Now she controls half of his body. Susan, you picked this movie because we kind of wanted to do some movies after 9 to 5, because I hadn't seen most of the women in that film and anything outside of that movie up until that point. So this was one of the movies you wanted to talk about, Susan. So I will turn the floor over to you, and you can tell me all about why we're watching this movie, what you thought about this movie the first time you saw it, because I know this was not the first time you saw it, and what you thought now sitting down to rewatch it for the Kulturecast.
Well, it was a treat to rewatch this movie because it had been a while. This was a huge hit. I remember it as a huge hit. I remembered it as a Lily Tomlin movie, which is why I picked it. I knew Steve Martin was it was like kind of co-starring them is what I remember it being. The thing is that Lily Tomlin's actually not in, it's a Steve Martin movie. She's in the movie a ton and she co-stars with him, but this is a Steve Martin movie. However, I would say it is a Steve Martin movie at the height of Steve Martin. It may be one of the best Steve Martin movies only because he is also playing Lily Tomlin half the time.
Right.
And that's a really spectacular, sort of a reminder what a physical comedian he was as well.
This is like the hardest kind of acting role to do, right? I'm not an actor, but I have to imagine, okay, playing somebody else and getting into that mindset is one thing, but playing somebody else who then has to have another character interfere into their character while playing yourself and that person, that seems like a tall order, right?
It's the Jim Carrey. Like there's such elasticity in the performance that it really does feel like you really do believe that Lily Tomlin, or at least a woman, is inside him.
Right.
And most of the time you truly believe it's Lily Tomlin. Like, I just remember her being more in the movie simply by his performance, where he's playing her, and all you're hearing is just her voice.
Or seeing her in the mirror.
They do the quantum leap trick, which I love. And again, throwback to 80s television, quantum leap. That was their trick from the 80s quantum leap, which was, he would figure out who he was by looking in the mirror and then see who he really looked like. But
it's interesting in this, she's not presenting as him. He's presenting as himself. When he sees her, he's just seeing, I guess that's the only thing I didn't get. What he's seeing her inside of him and no one else sees her. They're seeing him, right? Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was what was interesting. They're not trying to mirror. They're not doing a mirror trick with their performance in the mirror. They're just use it to have scenes together.
Right. But they do a whole lot of the mirror thing. There's a lot of them having to do the whole like mirror gag over and over again, which I think they more or less nail it. But this is a hard movie to make. I feel like this movie was not easy in a lot of ways, obviously.
No, technically, I think it was, again, a challenge, particularly for the 80s and before there was just such easy access to computers. Right. and computer imagery and digital fixing. But the mirror trick's been around for a while. Right. But
since Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin, I think it's like, it's that old.
It's that old, but it totally works. And what I love about this movie is how much chemistry the two of them pull off, where most of it, they're not in the same room, right? Like, I mean, I'm assuming they filmed them together, but they didn't have to, because she's in the mirror doing her thing and he's in the scene doing his thing. And so it's just, and yet you really, I found it surprising how much I cared about their relationship still. Like, I remember that from the original, like, I remember being a little bit, spoiler alert, I remember being a little bit disappointed, because you're like, you kind of want them to end up together, and they kind of do, but only in as much as they ever
could, right?
As much as they ever could, right? So because she's dead, so only her spirit can go. But I thought it was very funny. I just enjoyed the performances a lot. It is a bit dated. It a little kind of racist.
Richard Libertini's entire character, which is a shame, because I fucking love Richard Libertini.
I love him, and I love him in this. And I remember literally, and the back and bowl is like, has stayed with me from the first time I've seen this. That little, and it's terribly racist, right? Like, it's
yeah. I mean, Richard Libertini is, his last,
Italian?
Yeah, I guess I was gonna say, like, his last name would lead me to believe he might be Italian. I-O-A and U. That's your last. If your last name ends in that, you might be Italian. He's not broadly Southeast Asian, I'll tell you that much. I think that goes without saying.
And he is playing, is it Tibetan? Or
broadly
Hindu?
Southeast Asian.
So he's playing a shaman mystic who is going to actually transfer. Yes, Prakalasa. Is that how you pronounce it? I think that's it. Oh, we're looking for Praka. I just remember Praka.
Yeah, Praka.
So he's playing a shaman mystic who is going to transfer the soul, Lily Tomlin's soul, into Victoria Tennant, and then accidentally gets halfway into Steve Martin. And again, this movie is wackadoodle, right? Like, it is just, it is that old-fashioned comedy where you just, like, it is loopy. And, again, he literally says the words. He's a lawyer. He's trying to be taken seriously as a serious lawyer. And he literally says, it's like, I want to be taken seriously. So then they cut to him driving his dog to meet with the fancy client at the mansion, because he's taking his dog with him.
Well, that's what one of the characters says. He's like, hey, he's acting weird today. He's like, he drives with his dog. He brings his dog into the office. When is he not acting weird? Like, And that's,
I know, but that comes later. Like it's all.
But I kind of appreciate that. That's how they kind of hang a lantern on him acting weird with her in his body, is just by being like, well, he was already weird. Because you could have had it be the kind of shaggy DA type thing where he's a straight laced dude, and then now he's being weird, and he's already a fucking weirdo. Like, and I appreciate that the movie just is already like, no, he's a weird anachronistic dude who does his own thing. He plays in a jazz band, that whole thing. Like, I appreciate that he's not Mr. Straight Lace. Like, there's a little bit of wiggle room to his character where everybody's not just taken aback by him acting weird all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, the story is about him. You know, like if you want to go to like the emotional heart of the story, it is not like, oh, this straight laced guy who needs to learn to loosen up.
Right.
It is a guy who's trying to fit into a sort of straight laced lawyer world, but who really is a musician and an artist and and wants to experience life, but he's also trying to be a successful lawyer. And that's not they are very clearly painting this guy who is running around with his dog everywhere. It's one thing to bring the dog into the office where like, your secretary can take care of the dog, but it's another thing to literally drive that dog to your client meeting. Was the dog in the car the whole scene? Like
I didn't and here, to be honest with you, outside of making Steve Martin seem like and be a kind of weirdo, the thing with the dog there's no payoff. There's nothing to it.
You there was a draft where she went into the dog.
There's got to be a draft where she went into the dog. There's got to be a draft,
right? Like,
yeah,
she had to go into the dog, and so her. Well,
then why else have the dog there? I mean, there's a dog There's a dog. I thought she was going to be in the horse at one point. Like they kind of tease it. And
that's the horse, right? That's the ending,
right? But I figured
Tennant.
She went. There's a point in the movie where they're trying to figure out where she went, and I figured that she went into the horse by accident. The climax of the movie kind of.
She went into the water,
right? Which is I think obviously funnier. I think in the grand scheme of things. So I had never seen this movie before. I had seen a couple Steve Martin comedies. I've seen The Man with Two Brains long time ago. Seen The Jerk a longer time ago. So I haven't seen, again, like I already mentioned the Steve Martin comedies that I've seen, and they're not his classics. They're more contemporary. Like I said, Pink Panther, It's Complicated, Cheaper by the Dozen. Those aren't bad movies.
They're very bland movies. Yeah,
they're made for the mid 2000s. Like when I think of Cheaper by the Dozen, like I know the kind of jokes that are going to be in that movie, even without remembering that movie. And, I probably saw at one point, Sergeant Bilko at one point. But for the most part, I have not seen a whole lot of Steve Martin stuff. The thing that sticks out for me that I've seen, that's probably my favorite Steve Martin thing, is Little Shop of Horrors or Three Amigos. If you want to talk about like a cameo role, his cameo in Little Shop of Horrors is great. But I mean, he's a main character in Three Amigos. He's one of the titular Three Amigos.
And can we talk about Three Amigos for a second and how great that movie is?
I like it a lot, but you would be surprised the amount of people I have talked to that don't like it, that are like annoyed by it or have like a very like strong opinion about how much they don't like it.
There's a huge divide. There's a famous story in my family over Three Amigos where, because I saw it, I was in, Three Amigos would have been
86.
80s, mid 80s, 86.
2 years after this movie. Yeah.
2 years after this movie. So it's Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Chevy Chase, right? Right.
Two of those people are good people.
Well, they're good people. And
Chevy Chase, I love Chevy Chase, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we haven't all heard the Chevy Chase story.
No, hot mess.
Unrepentant
hot mess
in a lot of ways.
Yes, unrepentant, hot mess. All right. But Steve Martin, absolutely, that movie made me laugh so hard. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was funny. I literally, for Thanksgiving, my dad and my sister and I would have this tradition of watching a movie together. And I insisted that we had to watch Three Amigos because they hadn't seen it. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are going to love it. Because my dad's an actor. My dad is a big ham bone. My sister's in theater and also an actor. And I just thought they're going to friggin' lose their minds over this movie the way that I did. And they hated it. They hated it so much that literally this Thanksgiving, my sister told a story about how I tried to show her Three Amigos.
Oh man, that Lorne Michaels, Steve Martin, Randy Newman script just really wasn't doing it for him. What a weird fucking array of people to write a script together. Like,
I know, but come on, the singing bush.
I'm a fan of Three Amigos. I like that movie a lot. That movie is rent free in my head. The My Little Buttercup musical number, yeah,
My Little Buttercup.
It's great. Steve Martin's hilarious, and so is Chevy Chase, and so is Martin Short. But all of that being said, I think the oldest comedy from Steve Martin that I have seen is, I guess, his Pennies from Heaven's not really funny though. Pennies from Heaven is a very dark movie.
Pretty dark, yes.
I guess then. This is the oldest Steve Martin comedy I've seen.
Well, the thing about this era, these early Steve Martin, is they are kind of pretty whacked out. And Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, which is another movie of this era. Like there's something very almost like artistic going on in them, even though they're also these, very, very high concept. This one being a very high concept, wackadoodle comedy. But there's something really interesting going on. And then you get into where I think, again, for me, Three Amigos, Roxanne, and LA Story, the movies that sort of come after this that he wrote or co-wrote, are really strong. I remember them. I haven't gone back and rewatched all of them, but Roxanne was just a real beauty of a movie at the time that it came out. Very heartfelt. Now, I would probably look at it now with a whole other gender politics.
I would assume so, given what it's the Cyrano de Bergerac.
It's right? Cyrano, right? Which is, I've always had a problem with Cyrano. So
I think a lot of people have, myself included, which is why it's not been on the top of my list of things to watch.
But the Roxanne, just his performance and the sort of the love that's in that movie, the sincerity that's in that movie is really, sort of, I think you see shades of it in All of Me. I think one of the things that sort of the moments I loved the most were, even when they felt a little contrived, and they did, were those moments that Lily Tomlin and Steve Martin shared a sweetness together. There's something that still feels very charming in All of Me. And there's a lot of charm in Roxanne. LA Story, I remember loving at the time that it came out. It was in the 90s and 1991. And I loved it because it's also one of Sarah Jessica Parker's first breakout. She's like this character actress in it. And I just remember her being like just a lightning bolt of sort of a personality in that movie. That's the
one with the talking billboard, right?
It's the one with the talking billboard. It felt so very LA, and being a person living in LA at the time and a young person, I was like, okay, I recognize all sorts of this movie. I would be curious to look back at that again. I might go check it out, but
I would too. I saw it probably in like 2011. I don't remember much other than Sarah Jessica Parker and the talking billboard. That's it. And Steve Martin in kind of like, 90s Steve Martin.
Yeah. And the 90s
good for
Steve
him
Martin,
looking salt and pepper gray hair has never looked better. I'm sorry. Steve Martin.
Well, I mean, he's been that I know, like from the beginning.
But it's great. Like what's great is like for me, Steve Martin's always looked like Steve Martin. You know what I mean? Like he's never got old. He just kind of always looked like Steve Martin.
Always looked about the same. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which, I mean, again, like, what I was expecting from this movie, again, having never watched it, sitting down to watch it, I thought that it was going to be the reverse. I thought Lily Tomlin was going to have Steve Martin's soul in her body. And I think this is the better idea for a number of reasons, but I think that movie could have worked too, just as well as this one.
Yeah.
Because Lily Tomlin is as good I think Lily Tomlin is as good a comedic actor, sometimes you could even say better, than Steve Martin is. And I think she would have brought something uniquely Lily Tomlin to it. Because like you said, this is a Steve Martin movie with Lily Tomlin's performance kind of grafted into his performance. I would like to have seen a Lily Tomlin movie with Steve Martin's performance grafted into it. I think that might actually have been the more interesting movie. I don't think it's the more financially viable at the time, at least not what the studios think, which I think is unfair, but I think it would have been a more interesting movie. as opposed to what we get. Not that I think this is a bad movie. This is a good movie, but I think it would have been a more novel movie for the time, especially.
Well, and I think that is, you would have lost a lot of the basically the dick jokes, right? Like,
which kind of aren't great anyways. Like,
they're not great anyway, but and that's that weird thing of like, we much more easily accept and find hilarious a guy portraying a woman broadly, right? Than we do a woman portraying a man. There's no, like, in terms of like, sort of what are those comedy performances? There's a really interesting, Sharon Gless did a television show in the 70s, where it was a body switching of a husband and wife that switch bodies, and then they have to and so she was portraying her husband inheriting her body, and she inherited her husband's body, who was, and I'm going to remember the actor in a minute. But anyway, those things are the sort of male female switch is very interesting. I think that we at the time it was much more enjoyable to love watching, Steve Martin be a little more like
effete.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like,
nice way of putting it.
Wasn't even. That was a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Lily Tomlin, it wasn't that effete, right?
Well, and that's my problem here. It's like Lily Tomlin is not. Steve Martin is this character. The character that Lily Tomlin is playing is against type. Like, so
it's a little against
type, yeah. And I would have preferred if it had been Lily Tomlin just doing not the Lily Tomlin thing, but doing the Lily Tomlin thing. That's what I like about Lily Tomlin.
But the Lily Tomlin of this time was doing a lot of she was doing characters, right?
Right.
She was doing a lot of different characters. And even though we know what Lily Tomlin sort of means now, at the time, she was much more of a character actress who had a sort of stable of characters that she did. Kind of like, she was in Laugh-In.
Right. But this is not the kind of character she was playing on Laugh-In, though, right? Like,
no, but she was also, she's from the stage. So she was doing a ton of interesting stage stuff. I think the very first meeting of them where she's in the wheelchair is absolutely Lily Tomlin.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, and that it was really lovely. Like, I thought that was a really lovely scene.
Well, like you said, I mean, normally these kinds of movies are a straight-laced guy or woman who gets, the opportunity to learn how to live. And this is not that. It's written in a way that it's more about Lily Tomlin being the one who's not learning how to live, but more being given the opportunity to have a life. And I think that the moments that you've talked about already were the moments where the movie is the most successful. And that's where all the comedy is just dropped away. And it's Steve Martin literally standing in a mirror talking to Lily Tomlin, and she's talking to him. And those are some of the better moments in the movie. Again, this is a great movie, but it's those moments where you get to see what it means for Lily Tomlin to be dead, what it means for her to not only be dead, but understand and rationalize the scenario that she's in, while Steve Martin is trying to tell her how things are going and how things are going to be and what he can do to help her. I appreciate that almost more than the comedy, because it's this weird emotional through line that so many funny movies from the time don't have, that they would greatly appreciate having an emotional core and not just a yuck fest for 45 minutes of your movie. Because again, like, there are plenty of times in this movie where there's not funniness happening. There's not any comedic value, but you're invested because of the emotional core of these two characters. And that's not easy to do even now. Comedies don't necessarily put a lot of stock into making you care about the characters. It's just about, delivering the laughs, which is why we have the horror movie problem, which is you don't care about the characters. You only care about getting them killed. Comedies kind of have the same problem. If you look at it, it's, make them laugh, but don't make them care. Just make them laugh. The movies that make you care and make you laugh are the ones that I personally think still have value. Something like Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That movie has an emotional core and it's talking about something universal. There are plenty of other movies that have come out since that are doing the same thing that just don't have that emotional core. Same with this movie, because it's a body swapping movie at its core. And we did a month of body swapping movies 2020, and this didn't make the cut. And I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't, but I'm glad it didn't, but I'm disappointed because this would have been the best movie we watched that month, without a doubt.
What did you watch?
I can tell you the people that were swapped in the movies. So we watched the one where Kirk Cameron swaps with Dudley Moore.
Okay. Yes.
We watched the one where George Burns swaps with, forget the young actor's name. And then
I remember.
We watched it was a recent one where Vince Vaughn swaps with, it's called, I forget what that one's called. Freaky, I think it's like a horror movie. It's a Blumhouse movie.
Oh, okay.
And there was one other one in there, but it was.
You didn't do Freaky Friday? Like the
what is
classic?
there to say about Freaky Friday? It's a good movie,
Hey, there's two of them.
But you know what I mean? Like, Like Freaky Friday, it's like Freaky Friday is the one. So,
right.
I'm more interested in talking. I'm more interested in talking about the things that people aren't talking about. Like nobody's talking about any of these other movies. Nobody's talking about that George Burns movie anymore. But people are talking about Freaky Friday. It got remade 10, 15 years ago, and Jamie Lee Curtis, I think a month ago, was like, I want to do more of these. Like Lindsay Lohan, come do more with me. So I've seen that movie. I like that movie.
I thought the reboot was pretty good.
It is good.
It is good.
One of my best friends literally says, make good choices whenever we are done hanging out. And I know what that comes from. That comes from that movie. I would have been the right age to see that movie. That movie came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. I probably saw that movie in theaters. But again, that's a good movie. For the Freaky Fridays are good. What do you say? It's a good movie. Okay.
Well, I'm interested also to look at The Incredible Shrinking Woman, which I don't remember as strongly.
That's a Lily Tomlin starring. That's
a Lily
right?
Tomlin, like a Lily Tomlin. It's 1981, so it's before this movie. And it was a big success. I remember in my mind it being a big success. But I don't, and I remember some of the scenes, but there was more of a technical, she was great, but it was also more of like, oh my God, the technical aspects of that movie were also kind of, a big deal at the time.
Like Joel Schumacher, I think, right?
Is it Joel Schumacher?
I think so, yeah.
Oh my God, maybe, yeah. But so I'm very curious. I'm now ready to dive back into Steve Martin and back into Lily Tomlin of those days, because, like you said, there's like two scenes where he's trying to have sex with Victoria Tennant, or Victoria Tennant is trying to have sex with him. Who, by the way, he was seeing. They got married.
Well, they weren't, but they ended up getting married after the fact.
But
right?
they were basically together, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a little bit like there's that weird moment where you're like, oh my God, cast my girlfriend in this movie.
Right.
And she's fine. She's good. She's a beautiful actress. What's interesting is at the very end where she is being Lily, she has Lily Tomlin in her. And you really that's when you really appreciate how great Steve Martin is. And you're like, oh, Steve Martin's Lily Tomlin was better than Victoria Tennant's Lily Tomlin. You don't see it until you see the mirror shot. And then you're like, oh my God, why isn't that I remember that from watching it when it came out, the very end of the movie, and watching the two of them, and you're like, I want a movie with Lily Tomlin and Steve Martin being joyful together,
right? As opposed to this kind of like madcap dash to fix the problem.
Yes, I mean it is a mad switching bodies movie.
Yeah, and I'm actually, the thing I was more surprised by than anything else is that they didn't do the body swapping gimmick more. They kind of kept it to the end of the movie. I mean, in some of those body swap movies, they swap bodies 2 or 3 times type thing. It's used obviously for a kind of a plot conflict thing at the end of the movie, but I was expecting there to be more body swapping throughout. Because again,
I'm so glad they didn't, because again,
likewise.
it gave us this amazing chemistry. Like the thing that's pretty stunning. There's these two, again, sort of trying to have sex with Victoria Tennant while Lily Tomlin is in his body, or half
controlling the right-hand side of his body.
Yes, controlling the right-hand side of his body. Just like conceptually, those are so interesting if you go down the road of that, right? Like, and
I
the
agree.
second time he's really trying to convince her to let him have sex and to enjoy it. And you're like, God, this is getting weird, right? Like, you're like, it gets weird for a minute. Cause you're like, are they really going to do this? But it's also one of the best chemistry moments where you're like, oh, they're kind of very cute together, where he's basically explaining what tingles are. And, cause she's not ever had sex. And you're like, this is so cool and also very creepy a little bit. I don't know how to feel about what's about to happen. Now it doesn't, right? They pull back from it, before, they actually have to
coitus interruptus, a little bit of it.
But it's pretty amazing because you're like, I want this to happen. Do I not want it to happen? What does it mean? Like,
well, and in a less successful movie, it would have been literally the opposite. It would have been he's never had sex before and she's walking him through it. And it's so smart that that's not what they do here. I mean, look, they're using a source material as their guide, an unpublished novel, but the decisions that were made in the script really speak to someone who understands how to write a funnier version of this movie than we would have gotten if it had been just some workman script. You would have had Steve Martin being the straight-laced one and Lily Tomlin being the free spirit and all of the kind of conflict that would have arose out of that. And I'm glad that's not what this is. It really is this kind of weird thing about her not having ever lived. And that's what her whole purpose in life is to escape being wheelchair bound her entire life. And
yes,
it's a cute story. I mean, that's a cute story. It wouldn't have been cute the other way. It would have been fucking creepy. It would have been the conventions of what the movie is setting down, that people are in, that you can have a spirit in your body that can control you, would have been weird if it had been Steve Martin as the straight-laced one and Lily Tomlin as the free spirit. It would have been kind of weird, right? It would have had a twinge of weirdness to it that I wouldn't have been okay with. The twinge of weirdness in some of these scenes where it's, just kind of get into the mood with me, like that's less weird. It's weird, like you said, but it's less weird than it would have been if Lily Tomlin had been like egging him on throughout it. That would have been stranger than it needed to be. And more off-putting, frankly. I'm not sure I would have been as on board with that conceit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just there's a lot of interesting things going on there, but I also I keep coming back to their chemistry together and being like, why didn't they do another movie where it was more of a romantic comedy?
Well, that's the thing that's weird, is that they don't work together again in this capacity. It's never them as the leads of a movie again. And again, by my approximation, clearly by your approximation, I think they have a hell of a lot of chemistry together. I would have watched another movie with the two of them as the leads in a actual on-screen capacity. I would have watched that, but I don't understand why we didn't get that. I'm assuming it's just they were too busy. Their schedules never synced back up. There was never a project worth working on.
Yeah, I think I assume that. Like, I feel like there must be some movie where, like, one of those movies where everybody's in it. Like, I don't know. There was a couple of those, not Parenthood, but kind of like where people are doing. There must be some movie that there are cameos in.
Right.
But yeah, I got that too. I don't know if you've ever seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yep.
And so Holly Hunter's in that movie for 5 minutes, right at the end, with George Clooney. And I swear I was like, when are we getting the Holly Hunter George Clooney movie? Right. I want that movie so bad because they're so fun in the two scenes they have, or the one scene that they have. It is sort of interesting. I think sometimes, like, she's supposed to, like, because she doesn't end up in the body of Victoria Tennant. There's something really creepy about that. It's like, oh, I kind of am in love with you, but you're going into the body of the woman that tried to kill me and you. And,
yeah. It's kind of,
I'm going to stare at you
It's kind of a weird ending to the movie. I mean, again, with a body swapping movie, there's always going to be these kind of hinky fucking concepts that they're batting around, like, well, she's in a pail of water now, which ends up not really coming to fruition. But
he drinks her.
Right.
His friend drinks her.
Right. I appreciate that the movie doesn't get bogged down in all of that, because I've seen
they don't really care about the rules of the Switch,
which I appreciate. Like, I don't need that as an audience member. I understand that there are plenty of people that need to have these kind of things really fleshed out and explained, and what are the tenets, and don't break the rules, and blah 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 blah. Whatever, fine. I don't need that, and I think the movie works better for not getting bogged down in Steve Martin having to sit and explain to people, like having a scene where they're exposition dumping all of this. I think that goes back to the idea that Richard Libertini's character is, not particularly well written. Again, it's not a matter of it being well written. It's just like, listen, it's offensive, but I'm not personally offended. It's in bad taste, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not trying to offend anybody. I didn't feel
they're not, and it's so like it's a very sweet performance. It's a very funny performance.
Right.
Like, it is. The performance is fantastic. It's just
the slapstick performance of the movie.
It's the slapstick performance of the movie, and it's a very it's really just they could have just made him a generic mystic from New York, like
right,
and you could have a weird accent and the same.
Right. Fisher Stevens did it in Short Circuit, watched an episode of Twilight Zone 85 where or was it Midnight, or it was Night Gallery, where Jackie Vernon did the same thing, where he put on a turban and did brown face. Like, they're not trying to be offensive. It's just not in good taste.
Yes, it's of the time. It was our sort of undefined racism that just allowed us to,
I mean, they're still not casting Southeast Asian actors and things now, so it's not like things have really changed. I mean, they're of the representation in Hollywood right now. I mean, I know that Asian actors and actresses have had the hardest time in getting representation. So it speaks to a larger problem, but Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin and Carl Reiner, we're not going to fix that by casting someone in their movie. I'm glad Richard Libertini is in it, because I love him in everything that he's in. He's in Fletch as Fletch's boss. That's where I first saw him. Yes. And I've seen him in so many things since. And he's just... I
love him too.
Yeah, he's great. He's a welcome addition to the cast. I will say, outside of Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin and Richard Libertini, not much else to talk about cast-wise. I mean, everybody else is good enough, but the lion's share of the movie is really Steve Martin, which obviously you've got Steve Martin in your movie in 84. What do you do but just say, Steve, let's do your thing. Like, just do the Steve Martin thing. And he delivers. I think Steve Martin is a very funny actor, but he doesn't need to be funny. That's the thing I've always appreciated of anything I've seen Steve Martin in. He's not one of those actors who needs to be funny. You can tell. And he's perfectly okay with sharing the funniness with other people, which is, again, not a thing that I would constantly pin on comedians, as I'm sure you wouldn't either. Sometimes they got to be the center of attention. They got to be the center of the room, which I get. Steve Martin has never struck me that way, professionally or, I guess, outside of the business.
Yeah, I think he is so good at, comedians often get underrated as actors.
Right.
And there's a moment in this movie, there's this one moment that I think, again, carries that weird emotional truth, where Steve Martin, we've been, they've been having this relationship in the mirrors of things, right? In the reflection of things. And after she's left his body, and I think is currently in the water.
I think so.
There's just a small moment. He's doing something else and he looks in a mirror and there's no Lily Tomlin, and he's missing it and we're missing it. It's literally and then we move on. It's just this moment. And you're like, that's such a beautiful moment, because we know exactly what's happening. And it's an emotional loss that the audience feels because he feels it. And that's all acting. He's looking at himself in the mirror and he's a little sad.
Well, and I mean, I agree. Again, I think, frankly, the most muddle-headed part of the movie is the climax. The last 10 minutes of the movie, just that needed one or two more go-throughs. Like, it really did, because it's it's pretty convoluted, the corner that they paint themselves into at the end of the movie. So at the end of the movie, like we've kind of mentioned, Lily Tomlin has been removed from Steve Martin. Then she's in Steve Martin's friend, and then
so Lily Tomlin goes into the water,
right, and then she goes into his friend,
and then he's trying to save her, so he runs and takes the bucket of water that she's in, dumps the water into like a pitcher, a clear pitcher, so you can see that there's water in it, then runs it to his friend who's in the band and who's blind, Jason Bernard, Tyrone, his blind musician friend, because that's, again, makes him more interesting and wacky.
Gotta be blind. Well, the whole him being blind is that's a plot contrivance, right? So they could have the contrivance. Hips kiss my hand scene.
Yes. And then and so that when he's like, oh, you handed me a thing, said take good care of it, and I thought it was Jen, so I drank her. So he ends up drinking her and gets half possessed by her, the same way that Steve Martin did by getting hit on the head by her essence in the bowl. That is the transference unit, which we no longer have. And apparently water works just as well. But then later, he thinks that she's been poured into the flowers, and he's all sad by the flowers. And that's a lovely moment.
Yeah.
Where he's sad by the flowers, which again, you're like, okay, Steve Martin's going to pet some flowers and we're going to feel something. And you're like, how is that possible?
Because of Steve Martin.
And then, so now she's in Tyrone. Then she goes back into Steve Martin, right?
Which I think is where the movie kind of starts. It's where it hits the wall. It's just like, okay, she doesn't need to go back into Steve Martin again to get this resolved. Like there has to be a better way than the three of them barging into the bedroom and holding them at gunpoint. Then it becomes a little bit like they're also the whole time, even though she's evil and bad, we know she's doing this for bad reasons. She still has changed her mind about being inhabited by a soul, which she signed but they're like, she signed a contract. She owes it. Right. And you're like, or maybe just like, again, it's hard because how are you going to get her out of she got all the money. Right.
But at the same time, it also is very weird when Steve Martin is physically assaulting her and restraining her, trying to force her soul.
Pointing a gun at her like, hey, you're going to do this or else. Like, well, okay. I guess she has the gun. She has the gun. But it's still all weird because she pointed the gun at him. Like go find somebody else
under his chin. Like, you're like, okay, so it's not going to work out for you and you have all the money, but really all we're trying to do is get like Lily Tomlin into something, we're
trying to replace your soul. We're trying to replace your soul here. That's it. We're just trying to give someone else control of your body so you don't have it anymore. Is that okay?
That's fine. You're fine with that. You said you would be.
The fucking the way the film ends is cuckoo bananas, but it works. But
it works. They pull it out. But
I feel like they could have gotten there in a less. Honestly, it feels like they just threw their hands up at the end of the movie and were like, "We just got to get her into the body of the horse as quickly as possible. What's the easiest way to do it? Force her." Is what it feels like. Like you're going into the body of this horse. Like, yes, but no, thank you.
It sort of becomes her decision.
Right. She willingly does it. Like I have a hard time believing that.
Because otherwise she's going to jail for her third strike at a time of the third strike, which you may not know what the third strike was.
But she has enough money that she could keep herself out of jail.
Well, yes, we are taking away the racial politics.
Taking away the whole thing. But that problem is like
overly rich person.
Well, that's the problem though. It's like that would have been my response in the writer's room would have been she could just pay to not be in jail. Like in 84, people were doing that. It's not a new thing. So it's like that would have been in the script of like, and then she says, I have enough money. It doesn't matter. And that's the thing that they don't get at, which is why I feel the end of the movie is a little kind of wonky. It's because there's an obvious retort that she has to all of what's happening. And instead she goes, no, I'd rather be in a horse. Like,
And here's the funny thing. Well, she did fire at two people with like a lot of people in the room. Again, kind of an accident, but she held someone at like under the chin.
Right, at gunpoint.
And then fired the gun at two other people.
Yeah.
having an affair in bed, but that's another story. But I will say that whole, what you just said is actually at the beginning of the movie, because when Lily Tomlin at the beginning of the movie is trying to explain to Steve Martin, like when Edwina Cutwater is going, oh, I'm going to come back from the dead. And he's like, what makes you think you can do that? And she's like, because I'm rich.
Right. Which is like, that's my point. Like, they've already hung a lantern on it. Why not hang a lantern on it again at the end of the movie? It's just, it would have made narrative sense for it to return to that right at the end. I don't know why they didn't. It's whatever. She goes into the horse willingly. She's like, I'd rather be in a horse than be in prison.
Well, again, if she has been in prison twice.
Right. Sure. Third strike, you're in jail forever. Yeah. And like the third strike, like, do you know that like most of that has gone away, but this was the time in the 80s when habitual offender laws.
Yes, I sat on a jury that was technically considered a felony, even though it was just literally a guy that basically printed up checks for bank accounts that didn't exist and wrote them, to a plumber to, fix his bathroom. But it was a felony conviction because of the amount. Mm-hmm. And he was very clearly guilty. He was very clearly not the brightest bulb. Because he did this for plumbing in his own house and helped the plumber. The plumber knew where he lived. The plumber knew, and then went, to the other room and just printed up checks that didn't exist and handed them to him. And all the plumber wanted was his stuff back. Literally, the plumber sat there and said, all I just want to get the stuff out of there. And this, that's all I need is to get the stuff out of there. And for some reason, our justice system couldn't handle that. Instead, they're like, okay, this guy is guilty. And we declared him guilty because he was. Then we were held, and then we were told, oh, this is this guy's third strike.
Should have led with that, I feel like.
And he's now going to jail for like ever.
Yeah.
For writing bad checks, for plumbing in his own house. And you're like, that's not okay. That's not what and literally we're all like, we don't want that the jury was like, we don't want that to happen. And the judge is like, doesn't matter.
Well, look, a lot of this could be handled by just, dealing with these as parole violations as opposed to like taking people and sending them into the chokey for life. But again, like the movie the movie brings it up because, like you said, at the time,
they're just using it as the thing. Yeah. And listen, I'm putting a lot of weight on that one line that they threw out to make sense of the thing.
But that's why she makes the decision that she makes.
That's why she makes the decision.
Yeah. But again, I feel like, up until the last 10 minutes of the movie, I'm on board with it. But when it gets to the way it kind of resolves itself and the final scene, I think they should have done a better job of conveying that it's Lily Tomlin and Steve Martin in that scene and not Victoria Tennant and Steve Martin. I have a problem with that.
I do too. And you totally do. You're like, this is weird because you don't buy when Victoria Tennant is sitting there next to Steve Martin and we're supposed to be like, but that's really Lily Tomlin. You literally don't believe it until you see the mirror shot where she is dancing with Steve Martin in a vastly different way than Victoria Tennant was currently dancing with him. Yeah. And he's dancing with her in a vastly different way. It's the one place where I actually think they really directorially messed up. I mean, like there's all sorts of other little things, but that moment, because you're like, oh, this is not fun. And then they spend a lot of time watching them dance in the mirror so that you can see how much fun they're having
through the entire credits.
Adorable for the entire credits because they had to win us back.
Which I don't get. It's like the movie is really good, but the last 10 minutes do almost everything in their power to ruin it.
Yeah, it really does. It makes it really tough. You're like, wait, I don't like this. This is making me very unhappy.
Well, there's just 2 times in the movie where Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin are together. The first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes. And that's it. And all of that feels like the biggest shame of all of me is that it is a body swapping movie. That's the biggest shame of this movie is that they're not able to be together. And it's not the kind of body swapping movie where they're on screen opposite one another. This must have been pretty easy day on set for Lily Tomlin. Let's just put it that way.
Lily Tomlin may have spent more time in the sound booth than she did on set.
I would go as far as to say that's got to be the case because she is in the movie. What would you say, ballpark? 15 minutes of an hour and a half movie? 20 minutes tops total?
No, I would say because she is in the mirror, but she's not like, what's weird is because those mirror shots they feel like they're all soundstage. They don't feel like she's there, which is kind of a little bit weird.
I figured that's like a green screen or a blue screen.
A green screen. Yeah, it had to, I guess it had to be a green screen or something, but so I would put it at, 25 minutes out of the hour and a half.
Right. And if it had been just like a traditional body swapping movie, it would have been the whole movie.
Yeah.
If it had been like Dudley Moore and
much more. Like I literally picked this as a great Lily Tomlin movie, which I thought she co-starred with Steve Martin, but it's so clearly like I was like, oh, this is like I remembered so much more Lily Tomlin in the movie. Her audio is in there a lot
throughout.
More. Yeah, throughout.
But she's essentially a narrator,
But I think I remembered it more because she feels present in those scenes because Steve Martin's so good at portraying there's two people inside him.
Right.
And that like in those scenes, it's really, and even when the audio doesn't really, like sometimes the audio, like it would be cleaner now. If you did this movie now, which I'm sure has been discussed at some point, I think
2 times.
Gender politics, 2 times. Okay.
Once in 2012 and once in 2015. They were going to do a TV show and they were going to do another movie, a remake. I
think they're really challenging things for a TV show because I think gender body switching these days carries so much politics with it that it's not as funny as it used to be. And it's
not even as easy as it used to be.
It's not as easy. And but technically you could do it in a heartbeat, right? It would be so easy to do this. And so there's a couple times where you're like, oh, that audio should have been it's just not quite in sync with his performance. It's close and it's close enough, but his performance is so good that you buy it, right? Like, so you're there.
Well, and that is for me, you look at this movie, you look at all the other kind of body swapping movies kind of holistically. The thing that's important about a body swap movie is getting the right actors cast because again, we've kind of talked about it plenty now. This is a Steve Martin movie through and through, and he is given the bulk majority of the work to do in this movie. He has to play himself. He has to play himself as someone else as well. And that's all on him. There's no camera trickery with any of that. That's just Steve Martin in a role. And that's whenever we talk body swap movies, it really does come down to, can the two main actors nail it? And in this movie, they do. I just think that the convention of having Lily Tomlin be dead and a ghost and a spirit and in his body and never on screen, I would have preferred just a fucking body swap movie with the two of them, like a straightforward body swap movie, but it would have had the two of them in it, and that would have elevated it past just a body swap movie. Could put some high concept bullshit surrounding it, but this is not the high concept bullshit that these two actors needed to be involved in, because they're two. If you cast Steve, who would you cast in this movie as Lily Tomlin where it would be okay that they're not in the movie that much? That's the question. Because it's as someone who has as iconoclastic as Lily Tomlin is, doesn't need to be second fiddle to Steve Martin. She deserves to be first fiddle next to him. And that, I think, is the ultimate problem for me in this movie, is just give me more of what I want, which is the two of them, and less of just Steve Martin doing the Lily Tomlin thing. It's good, but it's not as good as if it was just Lily Tomlin, or Lily Tomlin pretending to be Steve Martin, which is effectively what it would have been otherwise.
And that, like that, because this is not a body switching movie. This is a body possession movie.
Right. It's more like, and like, yeah, like you said, to call it a body swap movie is unfair, but there are very few other movies like this one, other than just a quote body swap movie, unquote. And that's the thing. Give me a movie like whatever the hell that Dudley Moore, Kirk Cameron movie is, but with the two of them, just do something. Because it would have been better if Lily Tomlin had just been on screen, as much as Steve Martin. That dancing scene where they're dancing together at the very end, that's just credit roll. It goes on so long because you're like, I adore them, right? They know what the positives of the movie were. Why are you leaving it for the last 10 minutes? Because I think they started the movie and they thought it would be funny, and then they're like, oh wait, this movie could be something else, right? And they couldn't get to the something else because they had already sort of greenlit this movie, right? The conceit is it's a possession movie. You can't get around that. Yes. There's nothing you could do to change that. But who would have been another good person to cast is my question. Opposite Steve Martin. Opposite Steve Martin in that role, but not kind of kind of like giving up the fact that they're also a talented actor, like someone who may be as talented as Lily Tomlin, but not as iconoclastic. And that's what I've been trying to rack my brain when I was watching it. Like, who could do what she's doing, but me not be as disappointed that she's not given as much to do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I mean, but then it wouldn't be as interesting. Like, and still, like, the great thing is just how powerful that character is part of, I think, why the movie is successful. Like, even though because she's a terrible person, right? Like, she's a terrible person. She's mean. She's selfish. Her big revelation is, 2/3 of the way through the movie, where she's like, "Oh, I'm saying you should just don't put me back in your, let's get me out of your body." Like, she's willing to give up and die so that he can basically have his life back, and which is a huge thing. But it's pretty, like, she notices that she's all proud of herself when she realizes she did that, and he's like, "No, we're going to get you back in your body, in the body that you bought."
Right.
From someone.
It might have been interesting if I know she was working a lot with Gene Wilder at the time, but Gilda Radner could have been interesting in this movie.
Gilda Radner could totally have done that.
She would have burned this movie's screen to the ground. She would have been so good. She would have been as good as Lily Tomlin is, frankly.
For sure. And you'd be equally disappointed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'd probably be more disappointed, frankly, given that Gilda Radner would pass away like 2 years after this movie came out. Something like that. Yeah.
Oh my God. This did remind me of a movie I do want to revisit too, called Heaven Can Wait, which is Warren Beatty from the 70s. Right. That's, again, more of a body possession movie than a body switching movie, but has a similar, like, people fighting over the rich man. Then,
what is that? Warren Beatty he's the spirit in that movie?
Warren Beatty is a football player, and he is he's on a run, and there's basically a bus accident that looks like it's going to kill him. But it looks like it's going to be a brutal death. So the angel pulls him right before, because they're like, he's going to die. And they're like, oops, it turns out he wouldn't have, because he's such a great athlete. He was actually going to survive that. And so now he's in heaven, and he's like, no, I have a life. I want to get back. I'm at the prime of my life. You got to put me back in another body. And so they put him back into a, old rich guy who other people have been trying to kill. And so for his money. And so, but it's weird because it's a very weird thing. So he's coming back. I guess he's in possession of an old man's body, but then he gets a better body later or something.
Oh,
like I can't remember.
Which is fucking weird in and of, like, all of these things in these movies are so strange, because you have to remember the conceit always is there's already somebody in that body that's being displaced. And the writers of the movie often go out of their way to make them seem like the scummiest piece of shit. But you have to remember, when that person goes into that body, they're still that person. Like, even though it looks like they're the different personality, still looks like them. And that's I guess that is what they could not get my head around at the end of this movie, is finding a way for me to be on board with Victoria Tennant and Steve Martin. And I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get there, because that scene before is just so close to the other scenes happening. That's like, she was just going to kill him. Like, come on.
And let's talk about how weird it is that, again, she's actually dating Steve Martin at this time. They're about to get married. They're going to get married a few years later, right?
It's just weird.
And so she's, that's that. I'm always fascinated when actors are in relationships and playing opposite each other, and particularly playing sort of, we're in a relationship, but you're the bad person. You're like, this is interesting. Is this just fun?
It's fun for everybody involved.
Fun for everybody involved. Yeah.
I will say, though, I did enjoy this movie a lot. I don't think that there needs to be a remake of this movie. I don't know what is there to remake. You could just make this movie again and not call it All of Me. Like, again, like I'm not saying that the movie's conceit is not unique or interesting, but it kind of isn't. I mean, it's really more about who is being body swapped, less the body swapping. I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at with, like, make sure you cast the right actors in your movie, because you really have to cast the right people in these kinds of movies. Because if they're not able to capture and evoke and invoke the performance of the other actor to the T, these movies just don't work. And some of those body swap movies that I saw, that was the case. They did not work, because both actors have to be committed to studying the other actor's performance like a hawk. and figuring out the things that they want to take from it and incorporate into their acting. And as someone who's not an actor, I wouldn't want to do that. That seems like an uphill battle, big time. It's
pretty fascinating to watch actors do that. It's really neat. I've written a piece that has kind of a body switching, and it's more unique in that it's like it's different because it's whatever. I think I enjoyed it, but it was fascinating to watch the actors find those little things. Mm-hmm. This was a more serious. It's fun. It's done with fun, but it's not about the physical comedy of that so much as it is about the concept of playing a different person.
Right.
And so it was much more subtle the actress, there's an actor and an actress, and they would sit aside and go, okay, let me, how would you do this scene? How would this scene have happened? And then let me find something that I feel like I can grab as an actor and then put in there.
Right.
And it's pretty amazing when you see it working.
Well, and again, to your point, watch this movie and you will see Steve Martin doing it really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like just that, like and it's very broad, and then other things are really small. Right. That's what I love about it. The physical comedy of him walking, your foot, my foot, your foot, my foot.
Like, right.
You totally buy it. You totally are buying it. And it's on, his performance, his physical performance. But then there's also those moments that are smaller and just how quickly he switches. It's really, yeah.
Well, and I think the scene in the courthouse is a really good example.
Yes.
Of that's probably like a microcosm of the movie in a whole in that scene. Mm-hmm. You get to see her, him, how she's affecting him, how she's affecting the world outside, how the world outside is reacting to this guy effectively looking like he's just going nuts in front of them. I think that, of all the scenes in the movie that are really trying to mine the comedy of the situation, I think that is the funniest scene in the movie from what can we do with this conceit that we're operating under. I feel like that is where the movie really is hitting and firing on all cylinders. The movie, again, it's successful overall, but when they put themselves in that kind of constraint of it's in the courtroom, he has to nail this case, but she doesn't want him to, like that's where the movie really shows, like, this is what we can do with this conceit if you just give us the opportunity to set all the pieces up and then knock them all down perfectly. That scene for me is where the movie's really singing.
I would agree. It's a pretty amazing scene because you also get the microcosm of, all right, I'm going to try to help you. And first I'm making it worse. And then I come up with something to make it better. And then I wake you up because I get stuck again. And because, he's fallen asleep in the body.
Right.
So Lily Tomlin has full possession. And then she's like, act like a man. And
I wish they had done more with that, I wish they
more with that.
Yeah, like that was interesting where he's asleep, she's controlling his body. Like, frankly, the fact that they did it only once is kind of surprising, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They did it where he had his body back for a minute. So they sort of introduced the concept so that you would buy it more. That was a really nice, like, planting and payoff. But you did sort of want to be like, oh, I want more. Because here's the joke. You actually were like, it's hard to not be thinking Lily Tomlin is controlling Steve Martin's body.
Right.
In that scene. You totally buy it because Steve Martin's so good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I forget that he's in the scene. That's how good he is. You forget that he's the one acting like he's possessed, and you just believe that, yeah, she has possessed him, and that is Lily Tomlin in his body. And again, I think you kind of really hit the nail on the head. Like, this makes me want to go back and watch more Steve Martin stuff, especially some of the things that I have never seen and some of the things that people aren't talking about all the time. I mean, what's frankly the biggest shame about this movie is available on DVD from 2003 in low-res 3:4 transfer, and that's it. What?
All of me? No.
Yes.
It's on streaming. Yeah. It's on Roku.
It's on streaming, but I'm talking about a physical release. DVD from 2003. That's it. How is that possible in this day and age? And also, how is it possible that it's only on Tubi? It's a Steve Martin. It's a Lily Tomlin movie. They're iconoclasts of comedy in their own rights, both of them. And yet it's on Tubi. Again, nothing against Tubi, but how this hasn't gotten some sort of reappraisal by Shout Factory or Arrow or somebody is kind of surprising, just given the star power in the lead roles. Like 2003, a 3-4 transfer? Really? What the fuck? Because that's the version we're watching now. It's just, it's the 3-4 transfer just on Tubi. I'm shocked when I learned that, because that's a shame.
That is surprising. Yeah.
But now I just want to watch more Steve Martin movies.
I want to watch more Steve Martin. I want to watch more Lily Tomlin, because now I want to go back and look at Shrinking Woman. I want to look at the search for for signs of intelligent life in the universe, because it was a play that she co-wrote and co-created with her both like creative partner and her life partner, Jane Wagner. It was off Broadway, huge success off Broadway. Again, right around this time. And then they did do a filmed version of it. And it's now just been touring again with Cicely, with who's the SNL, but she was just in the streaming Schmigadoon, which is a streaming musical comedy that is very cute and sort of a spoof of musical comedy.
Interesting.
Written by Cinco Paul and Ken Dario, who wrote like the Minion movies.
Okay. Gotcha.
And Keegan Michael Key and Cicely Strong star in it.
Huh.
It's a really interesting. It was on Apple. Is it on Apple? Yeah, it's on Apple.
I only know one thing on Apple, and that's Ted Lasso. I don't even watch it on Apple.
What do you watch it on?
I watch it on like Lex server.
Some sort of crazy thing.
Yeah, the thing that
I want to go back
unmentionable thing.
I want to go look at Carl Reiner films.
That's the other thing. Like Carl Reiner, even the fact that it's a Carl Reiner movie and it is not getting more appreciation. I mean, I guess, did Rob Reiner kind of outshine his father? Is that why?
I mean,
a lot of ways, right?
In some ways, but I mean, not in terms of Carl Reiner. Rob Reiner wouldn't be Rob Reiner.
Right.
But we also just don't to my generation, Rob Reiner will not outshine Carl Reiner because of Dick Van Dyke.
Sure.
And because of watching most of his movies again and repeat on television and with commercials and stuff for the most part. And I love Rob Reiner. I'm like the biggest Princess Bride nerd ever. And the same with the Stand By Me and forget about it. But, he was such a comedian giant.
Right.
He's like Lorne Michaels and Mel Brooks level. Right. So,
different levels. Right. I think Rob Reiner's right here. I think Carl Reiner is one of those people that you can't mention his name without you can't not mention his name when you're talking about comedy in the 60s and 70s and 50s. You can't avoid mentioning Carl Reiner's name. And again, we were talking before we started recording, the 2,000-year-old man in the year 2000 type stuff. I mean, even just all of that. But yeah, it's weird that this movie's kind of not gotten a reappraisal. Not that it needs a reappraisal. I just think it needs a better release somewhere. Not on Tubi, not on DVD. It needs a Blu-ray. Lily Tomlin and Steve Martin are still around. You could have them come back and do a commentary, or you could go and pound on their door and say, give me 5 minutes of your time to talk about All of Me, which is a movie that I believe Steve Martin likes and Lily Tomlin probably likes. So I don't know. It's weird to me that this movie is not more well remembered. Maybe it's not more well remembered because Lily Tomlin's not in it as much. I don't know. It's strange
it's that era,
to me.
And Carl Reiner and Steve Martin were basically just working it. It was The Jerk, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, The Man with Two Brains, All of Me. Those were all Carl Reiner directed movies. Right. And so he was basically sort of inventing the Steve Martin movie.
Pretty much.
With Steve Martin.
Yeah.
And yet very uneven movies. Man with Two Brains and Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid are not, to me, I don't remember them the same way I remember All of Me and even The Jerk. And The Jerk, I don't even know how you look at The Jerk now.
Mean, that movie the movie's opening alone.
Yes. Yeah.
I was born a poor black child.
Poor black.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't know how you look at that movie now. But at the same time, the physical comedy in that, they're just yeah. But it's so interesting to realize he directed all of those, as well as, I mean, again, Carl Reiner directed so much and was sort of wrote and directed so much that some of it was amazing, and some of it was good.
Yeah, everything doesn't have to be a number one hit. And he was also acting and stuff, because he was in all of the Oceans 11, 12, and 13.
Yeah, he's an actor. He's a stand-up comedian. He's a writer. I mean,
where does he find time in the day to sleep?
Jokes? Yeah, like and again, Dick Van Dyke Show alone. I don't know.
Yeah, he wrote how many books? Like 20 nonfiction books. Like Carl Reiner and Rob Reiner, like the work ethic of them alone is just, yeah. Can't say enough. So
anyway.
So final thoughts, Susan, on all of them.
Love Lily Tomlin, love Steve Martin, love them in this movie. And I love that I love Lily Tomlin's line, "How dare you say penis to a dead person?"
That was a good line. That was a great, her delivery too. Just, how dare you say
I just wanted more Lily Tomlin, and she's so offended.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I enjoyed this movie. Thank you for bringing this movie to the show. I wanted more Lily Tomlin. I'm with you. Like that is the shame. It's just I want more of the other actor in the movie. Like she's on the poster. Like I know she's in the movie. She's talking a lot, but give me more of that goddamn charismatic woman, Lily Tomlin, because I feel like she probably would have outshone Steve Martin if she had been given the opportunity, which I think is also the thing. Maybe there's a little bit of that. Like, she'll probably do better than Steve if we give her the opportunity. So maybe not.
I think they just were like, I think they were making a Steve Martin movie.
Right.
And they she's getting Lily Tomlin. Yeah. And then they're like, holy crap. And I think
we have Lily Tomlin.
They wish they were making a Steve Martin, Lily Tomlin.
I agree.
It was too late.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. Yeah. And, I don't know why this movie doesn't have a better release. I think, we've run into this a couple times now in the last couple of years on this show where it's like, why are people sleeping on this? Why has nobody just gone and said, can we release this, please? Because it's a Universal movie. This is distributed by Universal. This is not some, new, what was it? Like New World Films or whatever, the movie that released the Elvira movie, then just put it like a week later. Like this, Universal's still around. So stop worrying about the next Fast and Furious movie and maybe reappraise your giant library of movies that deserve to be somewhere other than Tubi, of all places. This movie is too good to be on Tubi. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that guy about Tubi, but
wow, you dishing all Tubi.
Tubi's great, but Tubi's great for a certain kind of content. We both know that. Like, we all know what's on Tubi. The things that are on Tubi are the things that the studios have essentially said, we don't care, so we'll put them on our streaming free service and not charge for it.
Here's what I'm surprised at, that this hasn't been turned into a stage musical.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Susan, it's calling. It's calling you, Susan.
I mean, listen, there's other things. I'm like, I would try to track that down. The amount of people that way bigger than me that would have to say yes. I would be the last person.
I don't know. No, this movie's sitting on DVD. Nobody's talking about it. But again, like, why you could just make a body swap movie and call it, whatever the fuck you wanted. It wouldn't have to be All of Me. It's not even All of Me holds any cachet anymore. Like,
oh, that song does. From like, the song is so meaningful and now is tied, I think, forever to that.
Sure. But I mean, like, for an audience now that had, like, you say All of Me and they'll be like, you know what I mean? Like in 84 it did, but in 2022, like, you call it something else. Steve Martin's Good Time, Happy Body Swap Adventure. The people are like, I'm tuning in
with
for that.
Lily Tomlin.
Lily Tomlin's Body Swap Adventure with Steve Martin. There you go. Yeah. So when you and I aren't talking about Lily Tomlin movies or Jane Fonda movies or Dolly Parton movies or a movie with the three of them in it, where can people find you, Susan?
Well, they can find me at 80s TV Ladies, and they can find me at SusanLambertHatem.com. So 80stvladies.com and SusanLambertHatem.com, and listen to 80s TV Ladies on all your favorite podcast platforms.
I was about to say, you can find me my show, this show, Susan's show, and a whole host of other shows over at weirdingwaymedia.com. That is the podcast network where you can find all of those shows, and you should, because there's plenty to listen to. And if you can get through all 900 plus episodes of Mike's show and all 10, 15 plus episodes of your show and all 500 episodes of my show, then maybe you've listened to everything, but you're not there yet, dear listener, unless you are. And then congratulations, you have more time on your hands than I do. So
we'll buy you a steak.
Yeah, boy, I'll buy you something more than a steak if you can prove you've listened to everything. Time traveler or something. I don't know how you could find the time. As for me, cstachiw.com is my link tree for all the stuff that I work on, but weirdingwaymedia.com is going to be the best place to go. As for this show, Kulturecast.com, patreon.com/Kulturecast, all those things. Social media sucks right now, as if it didn't to begin with. So we'll just ignore posting about social media for right now, because I'm not going to tell anybody to go to Twitter. Not of sound mind, I'm not. So that's where you
I'm
can
staying till the bitter end. I'm staying till the bitter end.
I'm staying to the bitter end, but I'm not telling anybody to go over there.
Fair enough.
I refuse to give them any more press than they're already getting every day. So, and what's funny is this episode will be heard so far in the future that Twitter may just be a long distant memory.
Or hopefully a public utility.
Yeah. Well, something other than what it is now, which would be, anything other than what it is now would be an immense upgrade. So, and Susan, thank you so much for joining me. It's been fun, as always.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really been fun. I love talking about this stuff with you.
I'm glad. I'm glad that, we can keep talking about movies where the female actresses should be in them more. Who would have thunk it?
Listen, that in my mind.
Yeah, I believe you. If I looked at the poster of the movie and I thought it was something else completely. So I enjoyed it at least. So
there's a crazy poster, and I don't know whether it's from the DVD or not, but it's like this crazy saga. I mean, it's got the whole plot on the poster.
Really?
I'm going to drop it in chat.
You just understand the entire movie from the poster.
I
believe
weird.
It. It's probably like a foreign poster or something.
It's something, and I'm like, I don't understand.
Who made this?
Who made this? But I found it, and I was like, that is hilarious. Anyway, thank you for having me. And and thank you for, Weirding Way Media supporting ADC ladies.
Of course. And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode.